Do you do tricks?
No, I don't. You said didn't have much talent when I was young. I was not good at anything. Is that true?
It was impossible for us not to be involved with the excitement of journalism.
Were you always a rebel?
I don't think I accept things on face value. I think I have the best job in the world.
You either know fashion or you don't.
I don't remember saying that, but if you have it, I'm sure that I did. How many questions do you have here? Do I get to ask you one?
I'm asking you today. Hi, Anna.
Good afternoon.
So I start always with, how are you really doing?
How am I really doing? Well, to be honest, I had a really tough workout this morning, so my back is killing me. But apart from that, I'm great.
Okay. Do you work out every day?
Most days, yeah.
Okay, lovely. Who are you, Anna?
I'm not sure I completely understand that question, but my name is Anna Wintour. I work at Condé Nast. I'm the Chief Content Officer of that company, and I'm here in Dubai because it's a very exciting moment for Condé Nast. We are the only global publishing company to actually own titles here. So obviously I've come to be part of the launch event tomorrow, and so excited to be in Dubai for the very first time and to meet so many interesting people and learn as much as I possibly can.
So the question is supposed to be vague because I always find it interesting how people answer it. Like, how do people view themselves, you know? How do you describe yourself? So if I actually now add more to the question, if I ask you, how would you describe Anna? How would you describe her?
Today, I am very excited by my incredible job that I have at Condé Nast. I think I have the best job in the world. I've been doing it for some time, and every day I'm just so grateful for what I do and the amazing people that I get to meet along the way and the stories that we have the privilege of telling. And I feel very strongly at this particular moment in time, it's really important to work with journalists who believe in the truth, who want to tell the truth, who publish stories that are based on accuracy and fact and on joy and on creativity, and to be able to be part of that process across so many different territories, working with so many incredibly talented people and learning so much as I go. Because when I think back to when I started as a young editor, I mean, we published a print magazine, and most of the rest of the time we were not doing so much. So to be able to have this amazing choice of platforms across an entire global network is something that is just so extraordinary to be part of.
And I believe you grew up in a house between a philanthropist and a journalist. Is that correct?
Well, both my parents were journalists. My dad was a Fleet Street editor. He lived for the news, loved the news, couldn't wait to get to the paper every single day. And I think his enthusiasm and incredible professionalism that I saw as a young girl growing up certainly influenced myself, and also my brother, who's now an editor at one of the British newspapers. I think it was impossible for us not to be involved with the excitement of journalism. And my mother actually started her career as a film critic, and they met when they were both at Cambridge, and then she had many, many children and sadly gave up her career to take care of all of us. And when we were old enough, she took up the responsibility of taking care of young kids who were not didn't know their parents and helped them find foster homes. And she worked in that world until and all the rest of her life. And I think seeing the combination of being able to use your platform to do good in the world and also to have that platform to tell stories, which were the two biggest influence on my childhood. I think it's, if you're going back to the question that you asked at the beginning, it goes very back to the roots of who I am. It's to use your platform to tell the truth and to do good in the world.
You used the word sadly had to take care of us and gave up on her career. Why did you use that word?
I think it was a different time. I mean, it was in the 50s, 60s, 70s in the UK, where if you had as many children as my mother did, that was the sort of the decision that you made. And she got married very young. And I think in today's world, she could have easily managed both. But I think those were the expectations of the time.
Were you always a rebel? Would you consider yourself actually a rebel?
I don't think I accept things on face value. I don't know if that's being a rebel. I like to question things. I like to push creativity, and I like to be surprised.
Can I ask, what's up with the sunglasses? That's the first thing that got me curious, that I always connect you to your sunglasses as it's an icon. So if I'm curious about it, what is it?
No, it's just everyone asks it, and it's just a habit. And I'm short-sighted, so they help me see and they help me hide a bit, I guess.
That's I think more the latter is what I read somewhere, that it like hides expression, so people don't know how to read you, maybe in a meeting or at work, and I don't know if that's true.
Well, especially helpful when you're jet-lagged.
And okay, would you say that you smile a lot?
I don't know. That's not anything I ever think about, to be honest.
Okay, then what makes you laugh?
My kids, my grandchildren, people at work, a beautiful day like today, many different things.
Okay. I have this red card that I have the different quotes from you that I'd love to ask you. You said, "I really didn't have much talent when I was young. I was not good at anything." Is that true?
Yeah, I didn't have any defined skills. Like, I have friends that are athletes. That's a gift. That's a skill. I have friends who are amazing writers. That's a gift. That's a skill. People who paint. How wonderful and amazing is that to have that gift? So I have no gifts like that. I have an eye and an understanding, I think, and an instinct about storytelling, but I personally can't do it. So I think that segues very neatly into the job that I currently have, which is being an editor, which is where you help other people form their ideas and help them put them out into the world. But for myself, I am very aware of my lack of creative talent.
But yeah, it's an interesting way of putting it, because I would call what you just described the talent on its own. You know, just to even how you just caught the lamp, or how you could be a perfectionist, or how you could be creative, or the fact that you're trying to squeeze the truth in journalism. You want authenticity and all of that. So I think I would categorize that as another talent that a lot of people.
Thank you.
Because I think most people, Anna, are, it's not a word, but like zombied, like unconscious. They just go with the trends of how the world is supposed to be. And how are we supposed to go? And this word "supposed to" is very subjective. 100 years ago, what we were supposed to be doing is completely different than now. And I like that you just don't take things, like you said, at face value. You love to question, okay, why should I do it this way? I think that's a beautiful curiosity.
Well, I think if you work in journalism, you have to be curious. And I also think working in the world, and certainly the titles that we have here in Dubai, whether it's Condé Nast Traveler, which is about exploration and visual delight, or Architectural Digest, which is about expressing yourself through your home and looking at how the minds of brilliant architects or landscape designers or interior designers may work. Or again, just talking to the editor here this morning, I was saying, I think what you're doing here is wonderful, but it's a little bit expected. You need to push what you're showing the world more, and it needs to be more personal. And I feel, where I can help all the different editors that I work with around the world is seeing when it's time to push boundaries more. Because I think it's very easy to get locked into a certain way of doing something, especially if it's very successful. And this is not a criticism of any of my editors, or certainly of anybody working in journalism, but it's sometimes when you're in something very deep, it's hard to see it clearly. And because I'm involved, but in a way separate, it's maybe I'm able to take a step back and understand when it's time to think about things in a new way. And that you also have a sense when you are out in the world the way I'm lucky enough to be, and able to travel and meet so many interesting people and hear what they have to say. And I always tell my editors, you have to walk in the street, you have to climb the highest mountain, and you have to explore. You'll never be able to do this job successfully if you're stuck in the office. It just doesn't work that way. Especially today when everything is so completely global and we're all absorbing information from so many different cultures and worlds, which makes it so much more interesting, but even more complicated as an editor to sort of discover what's local and what's global and what can work across many territories.
There's this idea, the rug, if we leave it there for a while, dust accumulates. So somebody has to come and shake it from time to time. I think that's you.
Well, I've never thought of myself as a rug, but I will try.
No, it's not the rug. You're the shaker of the rug.
Okay.
So when from time to time.
Well, I was doing that in the gym this morning. Okay. So there you are.
And I think that's what you do for the industry. That we need people that will disrupt. And the funny thing is, the example was given to me when you manage people. So when you manage people, if everything is just calm, the dust accumulates. That you need somebody to come and shake it up a bit from time to time. People wake up. Okay, another thing. You said decisiveness is important in everything you do. What did you mean?
Well, I think it's very helpful to the people that you're working with if you're decisive, or at least have a clear answer, like, I don't know, give me some time. I've worked with different people in my career who are not that way. And I think it's very frustrating and debilitating, honestly, for the people that you work with, and also disrespectful not to be clear in what you're saying and what you're expecting. You can react. If someone says, no, I don't like that, we're not going to do it, or yes, this is fantastic, go ahead, or I'm not sure, give me a couple of days to think about it, but at least it's clarity. I think when you're not clear and you're not decisive, you have a lot of people swimming around you waiting for you to make up your mind. And that's just a waste of everybody's time. And most importantly, it's a waste of their time. And to me, that's disrespectful.
I love that. I really do connect with the idea how, time is our most expensive currency.
Yes.
And if I respect you, I don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
And if I respect myself also.
Exactly.
You said you either know fashion or you don't.
That sounds very pretentious. Did I really say that?
I don't. That's what I got.
I don't remember saying that, but if you have it, I'm sure that I did. Actually, I think you can know fashion. You can understand fashion more the more you see it. And I actually think I've just had this incredible opportunity to meet with the most brilliant designers in the world over many, many years. And that, I think, has helped me to understand and to help Vogue or GQ or any of the other titles that we work with best represent what we feel is the most creative in the world, because I've had so much exposure to seeing how different talents work, how they create. Some are very fast, like Karl was like, he could do 20 sketches in 20 seconds, and then you'd see the dress come out on the runway and it would look exactly like what you'd seen him sketch in 1 second. Or somebody maybe like John Galliano, who will go on long research trips all over the world and compile these amazing books of what he's seen and what he's been interested in. And then you'll see that sense of storytelling and romance come out in the studio and then come out on the runway. But it's a much longer process. I'm not saying that one is right or one is wrong. It's just very different. Everybody who is creative and has that kind of genius works in very different ways, the same an actor does, or a director or a painter. But since I've been able to be on the sidelines watching all this for such a long time, I think it's helped me understand fashion in a much more, in a deeper way than if it was more surface, because I've been lucky enough to be invited in.
And go back to a childhood question. If you had to summarize Anna's childhood in 3 words, what would they be?
Loving.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters.
Okay.
And my parents.
Were you
Family.
Were you close to both your parents?
Yes.
Oh, nice. That's lovely. Are you close to your children?
Yes, very close. Yes.
Okay. Lucky. That's good. Okay, so this is...
We're going to play cards?
This is a card game with questions, and I'm going to give you and the team a few. They're really nice. So if you don't mind, do you mind shuffling?
Sure.
We'll choose. We'll
Do
see
you
what...
do tricks?
No, I don't.
Me neither.
But let's see what fate holds as a question.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see.
How many questions do you have here?
I have...
Do I get to ask you one?
We don't have time. I'm asking you today. Who do you miss right this minute?
Who do I miss?
Yeah, and before you answer, can you throw this? And this is the way to answer. The style of answering. Just
Is
throw
this
it.
a Dubai custom?
No,
No. Where do I throw it?
anywhere. Okay, that's too far, but okay. Be open.
Be open.
Yeah. Who do you miss right this minute?
My children.
Okay. When are you supposed to see them?
Not for a couple of weeks. I'm traveling so
Oh.
much. Yeah.
Okay. What is the hardest thing about being Anna Wintour?
I actually think it's not so hard. I think I'm really lucky. I think I have an amazing life. I get to do all the things that I love and I care about and I'm passionate about. I get to go to incredibly interesting places and meet extraordinary people. It's a great privilege, I think, and I feel very honored. And I have, the other side of my life that's equally as important with my family and my friends and my private life. So I don't think it's so hard, to be honest.
Anna, you've loved, left, loved again. So you're rich in love, I would hope to say. What did you learn about love and relationships?
I think whether it's a relationship in your private life or whether it's a relationship that you have in the workplace, the most important thing is to be honest, as we were talking about before, and to be clear. And those are values that I try and operate by as much as I possibly can, and I'm sure you feel the same way.
What's the best advice somebody has ever told you? Or something that you don't forget?
Well, I have a friend who's a tennis player, and this is not it's the only thing I can think of right now. It's not the thing I live by, but he told me, when you win a lot, it's much easier to lose.
When you win a lot, yeah, because you become complacent?
No, I think you can accept loss easier when you know you can also win. I think that's what he meant.
Okay. And what's your advice? Because I know you're very, I'd like to use the word caring about the next generation, the youth, the designers, the creative people. And you have a very rich experience. I think you've been blessed with a beautiful experience and you've been sponging it. What is your advice to...
Well, I talk to a lot of young fashion students, a lot of young designers, a lot of young journalists, and I always impress on them how important it is not to want success too early. It's very easy with the world that we live in today with social media. Everyone thinks that they can be super famous, super fast. That doesn't necessarily mean super successful. So my advice always is work with or for someone that you admire, that you can learn from, and take your time. Think of your early life as the equivalent of being maybe a university where you're there to learn and to study and to make mistakes and not make a hard and fast decision. I mean, maybe you think you're going to be a journalist and then you go through your studies, you meet a lot of different people, you have life experiences, and 5 years later you decide you want to be a doctor. That's totally fine. I think this idea of having to have this very firm path early in life is a huge mistake. I think from late teens until you're in your early 30s, that's a time for experimentation and trying things out and making lots of mistakes and learning from those mistakes and not worrying so much about making it. I think this emphasis on being a celebrity and being so successful at an early age is very destructive, and you will be happier and more successful and have more longevity in your career and possibly in your relationships if you use your earlier years to find your way.
If you weren't Anna, would you be Anna's friend?
I hope so.
What do you think?
Hope so.
Do you consider yourself a good friend?
I do, actually. I really...
Please.
I have wonderful friends. I'm very lucky to have them, and I admire them all. Not many of them actually work in the world that I work in, but many I've had for decades, and we know each other very well. We take care of each other. We are there for each other. And in the end, friends and family are so important to everything that you do.
What would you say you're afraid of?
I don't enjoy being in a situation without preparation, even if the preparation is not helpful. I find it grounding. I think not being prepared for what one is doing in a day is also going back to the being late or not on time is disrespectful to the people that you're working with. So I think it's important to always be prepared in a situation as much as one can be, and then be open.
What is that saying? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail? Yeah. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
I think we're back to the winning connotation, the winning-losing connotation.
On grief, if I may speak, I know you lost, sadly, your brother Gerald at 11. How did that affect Anna after that? Because you were younger.
But I was very young, and obviously it was tragic for my parents, and I think particularly because Gerald had been sent to the United States. My mother was American and was sent to the United States during the war, so they didn't see him so much when he was very young. So I think it was very, very tough on them, less so on me because I have very vague memories of him, very hard, I think, on my older brother because they were very close. But I think I was very conscious of my parents' grief. Obviously, to lose a child is unimaginable, is the worst possible kind of tragedy.
And who is someone you miss a lot that has passed?
Oh, well, I miss Karl a lot. We used to have so much fun together, and my time in Paris was always defined by the dinners that we would have together, the parties he would used to give, his sense of humor, his unbelievable mind. I mean, he was just interested in so many different things. We had a ritual that every time I came to Paris, the first day I was there, it was usually a Sunday, I would go to his house or he would come to the hotel and we would just sit and talk. Sometimes Amanda Harleck, who's also a really close friend of mine and was of Karl's, would come and we would just cover the territory. We'd talk about where we'd been traveling, what we were reading, what was happening in the world. We would never talk about fashion. It was just a world exploration. And because we've been doing it together for so long and he knew me so well and I knew him so well, there was no facade or no pretenses. It was just us, and sometimes we would bring in other people. So I miss that kind of familiarity that you have with someone that you've known for such a long time, and that you don't need any pretenses or any facades. We were just thrilled to be with each other and to see each other. So I do miss Karl a lot.
So if you could send him a text and he would read it, what would you do?
Well, what would I say? I would say, Karl, I'm in Dubai, I'm having a great time. He used to send me sketches all the time,
Okay.
Sketches of wherever I was. So I'm sure he would send me a sketch, and then sometimes we would make plans to spend some time together on vacation, or sometimes he would send me a sketch of something he'd like me to wear. Sometimes he'd send me a sketch of my children. Sometimes he would send me very irreverent caricatures of different people. It was a different way of talking through his sketches. Or when faxes started, we used to send faxes to each other. And then we moved on to email, and we moved on to text. We didn't talk much on the phone, but we were always in communication.
What am I getting the nicknames correct? Charles and B mean to you?
Charlie.
Charlie. And B is the nickname of your daughter?
Yes.
Okay, what do they mean to you?
Well, I'm very proud of both of my children. My son is a doctor, as his dad was before him, and one of my stepsons is also a doctor, so it's a sort of family profession. I have cousins that are also doctors. Charlie, I think, is a very selfless profession, and it's a very giving way to live your life. When he was at university, he was studying modern history, and I'd actually always thought that he would be a journalist, like his grandfather and his uncle, and like myself. But while he was at university, that's why I was talking before, why I think it's so important to keep an open mind. I think a few things happened that made him change his mind and think he might want to move into medicine. And to make that decision when you're in your early 20s, it's a huge commitment, because modern history doesn't really help you with biology. So after he finished at Oxford, he went back to Columbia, and he did pre-med, and then he did med, and then he did residency. And then he moved on to working at Columbia and Cornell. So it was it was 10, 12, maybe 14 years of studying. So that means this is something you really, really want to do. And he works in mental health, and obviously that's such an issue for young people particularly. It was the field that his father worked in. My husband was chief of child psychiatry at Columbia, and he worked in the field of young people who suffer from very debilitating depression and suicidal tendencies. So Charlie's sort of following in that world. And my daughter B, her real name is Catherine. She has always been in love with the theatre and is now a producer. She works for a company called ATG that owns many theatres in the UK and also in the States. And in her first serious role of of actually acting as a producer. Once she worked a little bit as a producer in television with Seth Meyers, and then for Ryan Murphy in Hollywood, and then she came back to New York and started to work in theater. And as the first two plays that she worked on as a real producer, full-time producer, both of them won Tony. So that obviously made me extremely proud.
I'm sure. How would you like to be remembered?
Honestly, I don't really. I think that's for other people to figure out.
My last question is, Anna. Anna in one word.
Quick.
Thank you.